What's going on, everybody? It is Jamie and welcome to the channel Thrift on Fire. This week we're going to be doing a financial breakdown. When I did quit my job back at the end of May going into June, we talked about potentially breaking down the numbers of how I'm doing. So I figured I would do that. I'm going to go back and show you the first month, and then maybe sometime in the near future before the end of the year we'll do an update to see how things have changed. With reselling, numbers are up and down, and you'll be able to see, even though we're talking about June of this year, 2023, you'll be able to see in some of the clips, other months, and we'll talk about that as we go. So first off, let's start with Etsy. I'm going to talk about all the platforms I sell on, and we'll talk about, fees and how I do things. But essentially, if we look here, so I also have a little cheat sheet here. So if you see me looking down, it's probably at the sheet. So gross, which would be right here, I sold $1,489.98. The fees associated with that was $181.22. In marketing, I believe I was running ads on some print-on-demand t-shirts, which I have not done that great on. They're not I can show you on a different video. They're just some shirts that I made that I was trying to sell on Etsy as well, but I really haven't had much luck with print-on-demand personally. But what I was actually paid for the month of June was $1,244.21. Yeah, so not too bad. So that was my Etsy sales for the month. Now, leading up to this in May, I took a pretty good vacation before I quit my job, and it affected some sales, but on Etsy, it didn't. It seemed like when I went on vacation, I only left maybe, even though I was away for about 10 days, I only had a 4-day window where I had my stores turned off and stuff like that. eBay was on always, but in vacation mode, and some of the other stores I turned off and then changed my shipping time and turned them back on. So I still did pretty good on Etsy for the month. And I would say normally on Etsy, I don't make this much money. I think average in the past for me on Etsy was like $600 to $800. So this was a really good month. Did sell a lot of VCR DVD combo units. I think that was a big part of it. And I was selling quite a few CRT televisions as well on Etsy at this time. Next up, well, this is my vintage store, and I can give you just kind of a little scroll through. Got some feedback starting to come. People have been liking some of my items. I've been sending out offers, stuff like that. You can see this is sort of frustrating. This show sold on this vintage on this platform. Somebody can buy something and then sort of not pay, and then it gets canceled and whatever, and then it gets relisted. But essentially on this one, they don't give you a breakdown like a lot of other websites, so I do have a little cheat sheet here. So in June, I sold $167.92. So on Vinted, there are fees, but the fees are paid by the buyer. The shipping is paid by the buyer, and all taxes are collected by Vinted and remitted to the government on your behalf. So whatever you get paid is your money minus income tax. So obviously when you make money online or make money anywhere, you do have to pay income tax. We're not going to be talking about that too much on this right now. We are going to just be talking about the net money that I made. I will show you some gross numbers as well, as like I just showed you on Etsy, grossing nearly $1,500, but taking in about $1,250, right? And I'll try to show you that as much as I can on these other platforms as well. But Vinted doesn't give you a breakdown at all, but you really don't need one because the money that something sells for on Vinted is the money you do get to keep. So let's move on to, this is going to be Poshmark Canada. Now we are going to be looking at July 1st right here, this one, because what I do personally, you can pay yourself out on Poshmark any way you want. So I just wait for an entire month, and then at the first day of the next month, I take a payout. So the July 1st payout was my June month on Poshmark Canada. So I got paid $1,179.44 for the month on Poshmark Canada. Now I think if I go to the next clip here, I've got this saved. I think I can scroll up. You can see right here, I actually sold $1,564. That number I find isn't always super relevant, only because sometimes you might sell something in a certain month, but it's sitting and pending, waiting for the person to accept it, or maybe whatever. So any money that's not released to you sits in there. So sometimes you might have sold something in a month, but the money hasn't been released to you. So the numbers kind of get off a little bit. But essentially, yeah, looking at this again, my gross was $1,564, and my net on Poshmark Canada for the month of June was $1,700 $79.44. Yeah, so let's move on to Poshmark US, which was pretty new for me at the time. I don't know if I have a second chart for this one, but I'll show you as well. So this is in US right here, so it'd be the same idea. We would be looking at the July 1st payout for June, and it looks like it was $492.37. That is US funds, so it actually winds up being $662.84 Canadian. That's at the rate, the exchange rate today. Now for this particular, or for anything that I sell in US dollars, which you won't see on here, I guess, I'm just started selling on eBay.com, which I'm getting paid in US, but I wasn't doing it at the time, so we're not going to share it. I've made some Depop sales, so those are also in US funds. I have a separate US account, and I don't transfer the money back to Canadian. You do gain money doing that, but if you can use the money as US money and keep it where it is, that's fine. So I have a Wise account, which is just a US bank account. It's a digital account. I do have a card as well. We can talk about that in another video, but I do have a US account, and I just let this money sit there. And then if I go to the States or want to buy something online in American money, I just use this. It makes the most sense for me because I'm not worrying about exchange so much. But but at the moment, like I said, $492.37 US is actually $662.84 Canadian. So pretty good. And you can see some of the other months as well. I haven't been selling on US for very long. Obviously just started in this month, and it was 300, 600. It looks like the $500 to $600 is the range I'm in right now. But I'm gonna hopefully build that and grow it, just as I did my Poshmark Canada. So yeah, I guess I do have a little, the next page does have a little graph. We can take a look at that as well. And this is sort of what I was talking about. I believe if we look at June, the number here reflected $462 is because there must have been money that was still being held at the time or whatever. So my payout was actually greater. I'm assuming from this better month where it was $671, some of that money must have sort of like came back into my June payout. So it was released after May, I suppose. So yeah, May was a better month, but this is what we're dealing with right now. We're talking about June because that was the first month, the first full month of me reselling full time. Now let's get into the biggest one for me. It is eBay Canada. Like I said, I just started selling on .com, but this is ebay.ca. The way they break down fees and stuff in here is pretty close to the way I do it on my own QuickBooks. So what we're looking at here is in sales, I sold $4,387.79. Collected by seller right here. I used to collect HST myself and remit it, but now eBay does that. You have to go back and make sure that they're doing right at the end of the year, but that's all sort of tax stuff that you have to figure out at the end of the year for yourself. But they do collect and remit it for you. So this is what was collected for me through the month, and this was my cost of selling on eBay. It was $667.37. Okay, so that means what did I net from eBay? $3,397.47. You can see right here I sold 88 items on eBay. Average sales price was $49.89. I'm trying to keep it around 50, so I'm pretty close. I was actually down, so not too bad. I'm pretty happy with those numbers. Now the one thing we haven't talked about is cost of goods and shipping. Now each platform is different, so if we're talking about Etsy, my eBay actually, not directly, but where I get paid out from eBay, that actually pays for my shipping at Etsy, and I'll give you the number of what I paid for the total month. Poshmark, you get shipping labels. Vinted, you mostly get shipping labels, so you don't have to worry about it too much. Every once in a while, someone will pick Canada Post, and you have to do it yourself. And then what else are we talking about here? So Etsy, eBay, Poshmark, I think that pretty much covers it. So how much did I spend in shipping and cost of goods, and how much did I make total? And are there any other variables? Well, let's get into that. So how do we do? Well, let's just talk about the net number. Gross is pretty tricky because all the platforms are different. But what did I net? I netted $6,651.94 for the month of June. I don't think that's too bad, to be honest. Now, if I have to grab different paper, I've got a few. But so for shipping, for the month of June in shipping, I paid $1,221.77. Cost of goods, so how much, not necessarily how much did I pay for the stuff that sold for the month, but how much inventory did I pick up and how much money did I spend on inventory picking up for the month, because I think that's more relevant. Some things that sold over the month I might have had for years, but how much money did I spend on new inventory for the month to keep the business going? Well, that was $1,089.91, which isn't too bad. I'm already in yard sale season at this point. I'm constantly at the bins twice a week, so the cost of goods there are cheap. I typically don't pick up super expensive items. I do when you know something strikes me as I should put money into this to flip it, but a lot of times I'm picking up pretty cheap items to flip. Okay, so if we subtract the cost of goods from the shipping, so it's basically the $6,651.84. Subtract the two added together. If you add those two together, it's $2,311.68. Gives me a profit of $4,350.16. I could be slightly off on some of these numbers, but that's pretty good. That's $4,346. I don't think that's terrible. Obviously, I have to pay income tax on that, and if I'm comparing just these numbers in general to my prior job, I was making about $24 an hour. At my last job, that I was there for like 20 years. It wasn't like it was just a casual job. I think when I broke it down, I should have broke it down and written it down, but it was something like, so I didn't get paid lunches, and there's all different things, there's overtime and whatever, but I think just basically pre-tax, I was making like something like $4,700. So I am off by about, $400 or $500. Well, maybe not that much, but you can kind of see that, maybe $300 or $400. So I'm making a little bit less just reselling than I was in my full-time job. Obviously, when I was doing both, there was a lot more money coming in, which allowed me to save to take this leap in the first place. I obviously saved a good chunk of money in savings before I decided to go full-time. I didn't just jump in all willy-nilly and hope everything was okay. I set up a safety net so I felt okay about doing this. Now, the other things that I do make money on that we don't talk about on the channel a ton is YouTube. On YouTube, I don't make a lot of money. I wouldn't quit my job to be a YouTuber. I really enjoy making videos like this. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. There's not a lot of money. I couldn't make a living currently at YouTube. Maybe someday with some subscriber growth and whatever, maybe I will make some decent money online doing this. But this is mostly a passion project. So when you're watching this, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And, it definitely does help if you like, subscribe, do all the things. The other thing, I do have, like I mentioned, a side business from this as well. And I think, without getting into too much details, I think I made about $800 last month on this in June. I'm not exactly sure how much I made. I'd have to dig it out of the books, but we're not exactly talking about this. But I do have other sources of income coming in. Even if they're not a lot of money, it definitely helps. One of the things I do know is I haven't really changed my lifestyle a ton. I've been still going to baseball games and concerts. Now, mind you, we pre-bought a lot of these tickets. Me and my wife still go out for dinner. So I don't think there's a huge difference in lifestyle for me currently. I try to be as frugal as possible in a lot of ways, but when it comes to just things that I enjoy, I definitely like to do them. Like, we definitely enjoy baseball, so we go to baseball games. We definitely enjoy concerts, so we go to concerts. Do we maybe not buy a t-shirt every time? Sure, we don't do that. Maybe sometimes when we go to baseball games, we bring our own snacks. We don't get all the expensive stuff. So, we're trying to live in a different way in those aspects. And my wife is still working. She's had the same job now for I think she's been a hairdresser now for 3 or 4 years. She loves it. She did a pivot and career change, and she's doing really well. So there's that income as well that we're living off. So we're doing absolutely fine. It's sort of a scary thing when you take a leap. But like I said, I think if you're thinking about doing something like this or following in these footsteps, I think building a safety net is key. So you want to build up maybe 6 months to a year worth of money, where if you fell down and broke your leg day one of reselling and you don't have insurance or anything else, you want to make sure you got some money that you can go to that's not just credit and stuff like that. So, just a little bit of advice. I did want to share this because I did mention that I would share it before. If you like this video, let me know. We can maybe do an update in a little bit. I definitely am trying to grow my business, and I want to share as much as I possibly can. Obviously, there's pieces of every business that you don't want to totally share everything, but I want to share as much as I feel comfortable sharing, and I do hope you guys appreciate it. If you guys like videos like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content. The channel coming up next, we do have a Let's Talk About Reselling This time, I think, like I said before, it's going to be with somebody from Calgary. We were supposed to film Monday. Something came up and I couldn't do it, and they were gracious enough to allow me to do it on Wednesday. So we're going to record Wednesday. Hopefully that'll be up this week as well. But until next time, guys, take care, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.